And to speak more on some of the conversations of this conference, I'm being joined by the Director, Research and Strategy at Chapel Hill Durham, Tajuddin Ibrahim. Good morning, Mr. Ibrahim. Thank you very much for joining us on the program.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me.
So the future-ready capital market, innovating for Nigeria's sustainable recovery, that was the theme of this maiden edition of NGX's Capital Market Conference. For you, how apt was this theme at a time like this for Nigeria's economy?
Well, I think it is a good development at a time that the Nigerian economy is out of recession and also trying to find its footing on a stronger economic growth path. Of course, with the support of the relevant authorities, talking about the support from the fiscal authority in this case, and also the support from the monetary side, of the authority. So we expect that this kind of a development should support, a better and a more vibrant capital market going forward, and should at some point, begin to support economic recovery by the time the government and also the corporate, side of the market, make the best use of the capital market to raise capital and also support projects that can drive economic growth to a higher number from the current levels that we are seeing. So I think it is broadly in line, with what we should be experiencing in the current environment.
Now, driving government's economic growth plans using the capital market is one of the key topics that was discussed at this conference. Of course, we know the government is low in revenue and has continued to borrow to fund its budget. What were the key issues that were raised on this particular topic at the conference?
Okay, so at the conference, some governors that were on the panel, talked about the issues around regulators that, the regulators at some point, could sort of slow down the access to, capital, because you have to get approvals at various levels. For instance, for you to, raise debt capital. So some governors, do not find that interesting, and they believe that, there is need for an improvement on that front, so that the regulator is not a hindrance to the ability of states and, other, corporate bodies, to have access to capital on a seamless basis. So in my view, I think, the regulators have a lot of work to do in that regard, to view, the government, whether at the federal level, at the state level, or at any subnational level, to view them as their customers and, treat customers, very well, in a way that they'll be willing to come back and do business with you, because the outcome is not only beneficial to the state or to the subnational government, but it is beneficial to all Nigerians as a whole, and beneficial to the country as a whole. And it also sort of polishes the image of the country externally. So I think, the regulators that are concerned in this case should do some work to address the concerns that have been raised by the governors, in my view.
All right, I guess talking about the regulators, we're looking at Securities and Exchange Commission, the NGX, and of course the Central Bank. Now, some of these stress that the governors are talking about that they undergo, in terms of regulation in assessing funds in the capital market, I believe these regulators were at the summit. They should have responded to this, and I'm sure they were able to also give their own side of the story and what they try to drive out when they bring out some of these regulations.
Well, I think one major thing that, we couldn't have at that conference is what you just spoke to. Earlier in the conference, we had the DG of the Securities and Exchange Commission, giving his speech. But the concerns expressed by the governors, came much later and then, could not be captured, as a form of response. But what I think is one of the key takeaways, from the DG of SEC is that they will do their best to ensure that the capital market is moving forward from a regulation standpoint. And I think they have already heard, from the governors. My expectation will be that, they will address this, and over time, we will see an improvement in the way the Securities and Exchange Commission deal with, their customers in this case being the government of this country, either as the federal or at the subnational level, and also the way they deal with corporate customers to ensure that transactions scale through without much delay, and transactions scale through excellently, and customers are happy afterwards.
Now, there were also discussions around increasing retail participation in the capital market. What were these discussions? What are your views on those?
So this discussion around retail participation, I think, was a great one, because, we really need more retail investors in the Nigerian capital market for better development. But what is shocking and, not a pleasing development is that we have old investors, in the retail segment of the Nigerian capital market. Currently, according to the central clearing system, the CSCS, they said that the age of an average investor, retail investor in the Nigerian capital market currently is about 53.5 years. That speaks to an old, team, or an old, set of, retail investors in this country. And we are in a country where the median age is interestingly low at 18 years. So you ask questions around where are those in their 20s in the market. So there is
may I say something here? Perhaps they're going into the crypto, isn't it?
Yeah, sure. So they are into crypto, they are into other, bitcoins, and that is why there is need, for even the market operators to come up with products that will be appealing to the young generation, and also make the best use of technology to attract the younger ones to invest in the capital market. And also there should be a room, for a review of the regulation, because one of the concerns that was flagged by a retail investor, that was expressed at the conference, is that it takes too long for securities to clear. When you buy shares, for instance, it is like T+3, and people, young ones, want their money right now. So there should be a review of that to ensure that investors get value for their investments as quickly as possible without much delay. We need to review some of our regulations in that regard.
All right. Now, the Vice President talked about the proposed listing of Nnpc and how it can enhance the capital market. What are your views?
I think that is a very positive development, as expressed by the Nnpc and also as reiterated by the Vice President yesterday. I think that would be positive for the market from a from a market capitalization standpoint, because it will add, trillions of naira to, the market capitalization. If it is not the largest listed companies, on the exchange when it is listed, Nnpc most likely will be one of the top three, if Nnpc is listed. That's one. Two is that I think there should also even be a look beyond Nnpc listing. Let us consider some other government-owned enterprises that fit into listing sort of status, and also take the necessary steps around making them public companies, private companies, and also ensure that they get listed over time. Then we'll be talking about having a more vibrant capital market. At the same time, I strongly believe that the exchange should consider low-hanging fruits like having secondary listings where we have primary listings on other exchanges. Good examples are Airtel Africa and Seplat. Those two have their primary listings on the London Stock Exchange, but there is a secondary listing in the Nigerian market, and they have both been supportive of the depth of the market and also the performance as well. So I think these are some of the ways that we can develop the market from a listing perspective.
So MTN Nigeria this morning launched its public offer of share to retail investors. I guess you are monitoring that. How impressive are you?
So I'm very impressed about the development because it speaks to the ability of an average Nigerian to be a part of MTN, for you to not just be a subscriber, it is for you to also have the opportunity to be a shareholder in MTN Nigeria, which is the largest telecoms operator in the country, with well over 67.5 million subscribers. Very strong revenue generation. The revenue for the company grew by 23.6% in the first 9 months of this year. And also we bear in mind the very strong performance of the data business. Everybody in this country needs data. COVID-19 has come to show us that you must have data on your mobile phone to be able to do transactions and to even be able to enjoy your day-to-day activities. More importantly, MTN has been issued a PSB license, which is a payment service bank license, for them to embark on banking activities. This is positive for MTN. So I think investors, generally speaking, should bear in mind that MTN pays 80% of its earnings as dividends. That is substantial, and you will get a yield of well over 10% if you buy into the shares.
Well, I guess by the end of today, we'll see how that IPO performs. In any case, what is the future of IPO in the Nigerian capital market?
I think the future of IPO in the Nigerian capital market is positive, and I think it could be a lot bright and probably brighter if operators in the capital market, are united around, developing and working around, the emergence of more IPOs in the market, because it is from the IPOs and also listing that you get to see more activities in the capital market. But my view is that there is need for us to develop and embrace the relevant technology to ensure that IPOs, when they come to the market, investors can seamlessly buy into those IPOs. But at the same time, we'll talk about private equity, businesses. We have private equity businesses, that invest in private businesses and over time develop them over like a 5-year period, and then they look to list. So in as much as we are seeing effort on that front, I believe that in addition to that, the regulators should also be supportive to ensure that we have more IPOs come into the market. I think the future is bright, but the operators and also the regulators have a lot of work to do for a better IPO activities in the country over the medium to long term.
The future is bright. But a quick one before I let you go. The year is gradually coming to an end. In 2020, the Nigerian stock market was adjudged the best. Are we likely to see that happen this year?
We may not necessarily be the best this year, but I think investors, should bear in mind, some strong fundamentals for some companies, And those strong fundamentals should support decent return this year. While we may not be the best this year, we should most likely be among the top three in the sub-Saharan Africa in terms of return, because currently we are well over 7% on a year-to-date basis in terms of return. It should be a good year in my view.
All right. I'm optimistic as well. Thank you very much, Tajuddin, for your time with us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
After the break, FX Commodities Market Update is next. Do stay with us.